Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hearts, and today I'll be breaking down the 6 game NBA slate here for Thursday night on DraftKings, talking through some of my favorite early low core plays, building a potential lineup around those core plays, as well as doing a game by game breakdown. If you guys could just help me out, hit that like button, let me know that you guys are enjoying the content. Subscribe, turn that notification bell. Feel free to leave a comment of who you guys are going with today. But yeah, hit that like button and let's get into this breakdown. Just want to recap my lineup here. Yesterday was wild in terms of DFS. Like, now that we're in the last like 15 games or so, we're gonna just have absolute insane craziness going into the final stretch here before the playoffs. As we saw yesterday, I got 260 and it was able to get me 156th place out of like 3.5k, 4,000 people. I mean, 260 I think would have won a lot of high single entry slates. Like it was just wild. The highest score was only 308. Absolute craziness here. But yeah, this is my lineup. Went with Victor, Man, Tatum, Dieng, Jokic, Trae Young, Hunter, Collins. Of course, Tatum and them blow him out. He doesn't get any fourth quarter run. Of course, Jokic and them get blown out at home by like 40 to the Bulls. Of course, DeAndre Hunter gets 15 points, but zero peripheral stats. And then John Collins was decent. So it's just one of those frustrating slates. Was able to, I guess, 3x my money, nothing too crazy there. $1 to $3. So I mean, was able to cash. It was a weird slate, but yeah, that's kind of how these slates will end up being for the rest of the season until we get to the playoffs. It's going to be absolute crazy, absolute insane. People are going to get ruled out right before lock. People are going to tank. People are going to get blown out. It's just going to be wild. So if you guys don't like that, I'd say just wait till the NBA playoffs. But if you do, we can definitely take advantage of certain situations. So on this slate, we have a 6 game slate. They're slowly getting smaller. On the first game, we have Utah versus Orlando. So obviously a good matchup here versus Orlando. Lauri Markkanen is just a very solid contrarian spin up. He usually doesn't carry high ownership at all, so I don't mind him. The big news is Clarkson and Kessler. So they started Markkanen, Tucker, Olenek, Abaji, and Fettuccine Alfredo here in that last game without Kessler and Clarkson. So if they do that again, if Clarkson and Kessler miss, I think, it just obviously gives a bump to Lauri Markkanen. Horton Tucker looks fine. He actually had a solid game, his first game in a while that it was pretty solid for him. He actually hit some shots, he got some minutes, so he looked pretty decent. Olenek would look solid. His minutes haven't been great, but he's a pretty productive player. Chris Dunn off the bench, I guess he's decent. Should see mid-20s. He's been okay. Abaji would just be more of a riskier punt play value just because he's pretty score independent. And same thing with, Alfredo here at 3,500. He can be productive at times. Hasn't played a ton this season, but he could definitely get you, 20, maybe push for 25 fancy points depending on how he's doing. So I wouldn't mind taking a shot on him. He'd probably be my favorite, followed by Lauri and Horton Tucker. But if one or both of these guys are back, then everyone else is just more secondary options for me. On the Orlando side, Wendell is out, so they started Mo Wagner. He was fantastic. He was absolutely smashing, but just I think he played like 4 second half minutes, made no sense, was not in foul trouble, was not injured. But yeah, I think at 5.5, he'd still look very, very solid here at that price tag. If he starts again, Paulo would look decent. I just don't love the price tag. Fultz has been pretty consistent, so I do like him as well. Just decent secondary options here for this Orlando side. Cole Anthony's there, Jalen Suggs there. They're kind of priced up. Don't really like that. You can always take a shot on Goga if they want to, roll with Mo and then drop him for Goga. I mean, you could definitely take a shot on him, but yeah, not a lot to like here for Orlando. Moving on to Houston, Indiana. Good game environment here. Sengun looks decent as a option there at 7,400. KPJ is out, so Jalen Green looks very, very solid here at 6,400. We know he's a huge ceiling. He's just very, very score independent at times, but he could definitely go off for 40, 50 plus, depending on how he's scoring the ball. So I do like him a decent amount at 6,400. Easton's up to 5,600. His minutes have been solid. Just don't love the price tag with him. He'll see decent minutes. Same thing with KJ Martin. He'll see close to 30. Smith has been seeing close to 30 as well. So just kind of filler plays. Nothing real, solid for me on that side. Moving on to the Indiana side. Halliburton's all the way up to 9,800, which is crazy, but he's been actually pretty aggressive the past 3 games. Not sure if that continues. I'd love it if it did, because he'd be a very, very solid spin up because he obviously has that double-double upside. But yeah, I mean, in a great matchup, he looks very strong. Same with Turner. He looks like a strong secondary option just because he doesn't really shoot the ball a ton, as you can see. He gets has those games where the minutes aren't great. He's not scoring. He doesn't shoot. So yeah, I mean, not a lot of interest here. Once again, I mean, if Naismith is out, you could look to Noir, whose minutes were kind of capped at 20, 22. But if Naismith's back, you definitely take a shot on him. I mean, if he's out again, you could take a shot on Duarte as well. Yeah, not a lot to like there for Indiana besides the main two. Moving on to Charlotte and Detroit, another team where it's just like a great matchup, but it's just like it's hard to get to them just because of all the value in the Golden State Memphis game, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and the Knicks and Sacramento. So the first three games I would definitely say are going to be a lot more contrarian to get pieces from than the last three. But we have Rozier, who looks very solid at 8,200. Same thing with Kelly Oubre. I think those two would be my standouts and favorite plays on the side. PJ should have some upside here, with no LaMelo. He looks pretty decent. I guess he'd be my third favorite play. And that's really it. It's no other plays stand out. Moving on to Detroit. Ivy has actually been doing fantastic, but we do have the news that most likely Killian Hayes should be back for this game. Same thing with Duran. So it really limits the upside of guys like Wiseman, Bagley, even Jaden Ivey. So for that reason, these guys are all just secondary options. No real standouts. Even though they are kind of shorthanded still, it's just, yeah, I don't really like getting into anyone else. Maybe you could take a shot on RJ Hampton if you wanted to, but yeah, with everyone back, everyone's kind of priced up about right. You just don't really feel great about the minutes. They could still find a way to muddy the waters there. Moving on to Golden State versus Memphis. This should be a great game to watch. A lot of beef between Draymond and the Memphis side. So I think Steph, it looks like one of the best, if not the best spin up of the day at 10-5. So I'm going to throw him in the lineup for now. Poole and Thompson, they kind of have limited upsides playing alongside Steph. I'd say if you wanted to take a shot for some reason on one of them, I'd say that'd be on Thompson over Poole. Green, I do like Green a good amount as well here. I just feel like it's pretty risky that he might end up getting a technical or thrown out because he tries to fight Dylan Brooks. Wouldn't be surprised if that happens, but if he stays normal at 6,300, I think he looks very, very solid. DiVincenzo looks decent. He's been starting to be doing good. Kuminga's questionable, Looney's questionable, Iguodala's questionable. If one or any of them are out, we could definitely look to like a Green or a Lamb off the bench, maybe even a Ty Jerome with some cheap value. So definitely keep that in mind. But for right now, it's really just Steph and Draymond for me. Moving on to Memphis, Ja's obviously out. So I think, Tyus Jones came up to 6,700. I still think it's a pretty fair price tag for him. As you can see, he still has, huge upside. So I think his fair price would be about 7,300 to 7,500. So I think he's still a little bit underpriced, especially in this matchup. So I do like him. I think Bane's pretty solid, even though he did not score like a single point that whole, I don't think through three quarters, I don't think he scored a single point in that Lakers game, which is wild. But I think he still looks very, very good at that price tag, 8,000. Same thing with Jaren Jackson Jr. He gets backup center run. The issue is the foul trouble, which is slowly started to happen more and more recently. As you can see, 4, 5, 4, 4, 5, 5. So he is definitely losing 4 to 5, maybe in 6 minutes the past few games due to that foul trouble, and he's still been doing good. So I like him. I think he looks solid, but there's that risk of that foul trouble. Tillman looks like a decent option there. He's been seeing 30 minutes. He's been productive as well. But yeah, no real standouts to me besides maybe Ja and Tyus Jones. They'll throw in Santi for a bit. They'll throw in Dylan Brooks. They'll throw in Luke. They'll throw in Conchar. They'll throw in David Roddy. They'll just throw in a ton of that guys. So really, I just feel great about the main three, and that's really it. You can get to the other guys as like filler pieces. Moving on to Brooklyn. Obviously, this is where a lot of the chalk's going to come from. Dinwiddie's out, Claxton's out, Cam Johnson's out, Ben Simmons is out, Royce O'Neal's out. So we're going to get a starting lineup most likely of Bridges, DFS, probably Sumner, Seth, and then Nerlens Noel. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, I like obviously Brooklyn a ton here. At this price tag of 8,500 for Bridges in the game that most likely might blow out, I think he'd just be a super, super contrarian play. No one's going to want to get to him just because of that. If Sumner starts, I think he looks great there at 3,600. Cam Thomas, if he starts, looks great. If he comes off the bench, a little bit riskier, but I still think, him and Sumner will be blowout proof. I just can't get to DFS. If this game does blow out, he'll be yanked for the younger guys. Same thing with Seth Curry. He's pretty risky here too. So it's kind of just a more wait and see approach here with Brooklyn. See who they start. Obviously, you want to go with the younger guys like Sumner, Cam Thomas, a guy like Darren Sharp here at 3,000, who probably will play the backup center run too, not so well. But once again, they're playing the Bucks, so there's that huge chance this game does blow out, and they're just going to run with these younger guys like a Sharp, Summer, and Cam Thomas here to just give him the kind of the scrub run. So right now, that's kind of what we're waiting for is the starting lineup. But I think these three are the main three that stand out. Onto the Bucks side, wouldn't be surprised if we get like news that Giannis or Drew Holiday are just out. They might rule one of them out, maybe both of them, just because they should be able to take care of this game without those two. So definitely keep an eye out on that. If Drew's out once again, I think it's just obviously a little bit more of a bump to Giannis, a little bit of a bump to like Middleton and Brook, but nothing huge. If obviously both of them are out, you're going to want to load up on Chris Middleton, who finally played 31 minutes and was very, very solid. He looked pretty decent once again. Brook Lopez will look solid. Bobby off the bench, or if he starts, it will look pretty good. He's just been super disappointing whenever he starts. Carter would look okay, his value. He kind of shot very, very well there. But yeah, Joe Ingles could be a decent value as well. So definitely keep an eye out on that, but not like huge priorities right now besides maybe Giannis' spend up. And then the big news for this game here is Jalen Brunson. If he's in, I really just like Randall Brunson. Wouldn't mind taking a shot on Mitchell Robinson. If Brunson's out, obviously it's a huge bump to Randall, huge bump to Barrett, huge bump to Quickly, and it allows guys like Grimes and Josh Hart to be like reasonable off the bench plays there who will see decent minutes. But yeah, they do have Dwayne Washington. I don't know if they'll play him, but right now it's kind of just dependent on that Brunson news. So it's going to be tough because if you want to be sharp, you want to play around the fact that maybe Brunson's out and load up on the guys like a Randall and Quickly because it's a great matchup here versus Sacramento, and it's the last game. So that's the tough news there is you're going to have to play around with that potential that he's in or out, and kind of, if you're a single entry guy, play around that. Moving on to the Sacramento side, Sabonis looks decent, 9,900. Fox looks decent, 9,400. They're just kind of priced up about right. Maybe a little too high for me on Fox there, who's kind of scoring dependent times. And in terms of the wings, every breakdown is the same. Barnes is going to be the most consistent. He just doesn't have a huge upside. It's like once every like 10 to 15 games, he has like a really good game. Herter, he's been the most inconsistent recently, the past like 2 months. He's really struggled with the shot. He's gotten benched a ton for a guy like Malik Monk. But we saw last game, Malik Monk with no Fox ended up getting benched. So it's just a crapshoot with these wings. Keegan Murray's actually been doing better recently the past month. But still, his minutes are all over the place. His production's all over the place. So it's just hard to trust these wings. You can definitely get to them. Don't mind it. And then Trey Lyles looks decent. He's been super productive in his time. So a little risky, but yeah, I guess you could take a shot on him. And that's going to do it for these breakdown. I guess to kind of fill out this lineup, right now, these are the 4 core plays. Sumner, Thomas, Darren Sharp, Steph. Obviously, we have to wait for that Brooklyn starting lineup news, but that's kind of who I'm leaning towards. And then to fill out the rest of this lineup here, I do want to get Randall in there in case Brunson is ruled out. It would be nice to get Quickly in there as well. We know he's huge upside. He got priced up to 6,600. The small forward, 5,800 about left over. Let's see what we can get to here. Let's see here. You can get to Nwora. You can get to like a Duarte, Fettuccine if he starts again. So let's just say Fettuccine starts again for that Utah game. Obviously, it's the first game, so we'll know pretty early on if Walker and Jordan Clarkson are in or out. And that would leave us with 8,200 left over. You could definitely get to Paolo. Wouldn't mind that. Kelly Oubre looks decent. Middleton, Barrett. So we get a lot of options here. Right now, let's see. I'm going to go with Barrett. Actually, I'm going to go with Paolo for right now. And that's going to be the, I guess, potential lineup. Obviously, a ton of news we have to wait for. But in terms of the 4 core plays, once again, it's going to be Evan Sumner, Cam Thomas, De'Aaron Sharp, Steph Curry, and obviously we have to wait for that injury news. So if you guys like the content, make sure you hit that like button. Check out my price pick video, which will be out in a little bit. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.